So it wasn't until our 32-week scan that's when the ball started rolling, with thinking that perhaps there might be something. From sort of those initial, that this could be something, sort of rumblings, she was out. And then I just felt really proud, like, you know, I've done it, like I've given birth and I'm with my cup of squash and the bourbon biscuit and just feeling really happy. And then Jamie came back in the room and he was with a doctor, a sort of younger doctor, and both of them were just ashen in the face. And I just thought, oh, she's dead. And it was just an immediate thought, and they came and stood either side of the bed and I said, what's wrong, you know. And the doctor, in a really quiet voice, said, oh, we're a bit concerned. And I said, oh, what do you mean? What's wrong? Why are you concerned? And she was, oh, there's just a few things, And I said, well, what things? And straight away my thoughts was, well, she's not dead, or she's going to be just severely disabled. We've got a disabled baby. And that was really hard. That was quite shocking, and you know, I'd just gone from complete elation and joy to just thinking, you know, gosh, like how has this happened to us? Like how? Like it can't be real, I haven't even got to see her or touch her, and this is the reality. And they took us down and there she was in the little incubator with all her tubes, and you could barely see her for the CPAP breathing machines, and then we were just sort of left, and there she was sitting in her little box, and we'd just gone through such a special experience, and then there we were not knowing what to do, just sitting and looking at her. And the nurse said, oh, would you like a hold? Just very casual, like it wasn't a big deal. And that was the first little cuddle we had, which was lovely.
They asked if they could take blood samples and skin samples and various other things to send off, and we agreed. And the day before the appointment, we received a letter saying, your child has Patau syndrome. And I kind of looked at the letter and went, thought we were going to find out what this was when we went there. I Googled it and all we could find was memorial pages. That was it. So for 24 hours before we met with anybody and anybody gave us any information, that was all we had. We had memorial pages for children who'd passed very early on and a diagnosis that we didn't understand. There wasn't an awful lot more information given to us from the geneticists at the time. They just said, well, we don't know what he's going to do. We don't know whether he's going to survive this. We know that children with Patau syndrome, and it was the first time I'd actually heard it used. We know that Patau syndrome is generally incompatible with life. I didn't realise there was ever such a thing as being incompatible with life. You're trying to take all this information in, you've had 24 hours of looking at memorial pages, and then somebody's telling you he's incompatible with life. But my boy sat in his chair trying to rock himself out of this room, and he is definitely not incompatible with life at that time.
I didn't even have a bed for her to sleep in because they'd been so pessimistic. I didn't think I'd be leaving the hospital with a live baby because they told me that I wouldn't, that wasn't going to happen. So we had to stop in Mothercare on the way home and buy a basket for Sophie to sleep in because I dare not hope, because they didn't really give me any hope. And she lived with us for 3 months at home. Took her out like you would any other baby. Visited, you know, family, friends, took lots of photos. And just made every day special. And we took her on holiday to Brecon. We hired a cottage with the blessing of the consultant in Singleton. By that time they told us that she had days and weeks left to live rather than weeks and months. I'd fed her, and I could feel her breathing was getting shallow. And she took about 3 breaths and she was gone. And we were actually walking by the side of the canal in Brecon. She didn't struggle. She it was very peaceful. She wasn't in hospital. She wasn't covered in monitors and incubators or anything like that. We were actually in Brecon by the side of the canal. And my eldest son wasn't with us, he was back in the cottage. And we had to take Sophie back then to the cottage and tell Scott that she had gone. It was one of the saddest things I've ever seen, to hand Sophie. Who had passed to Scott. And just watching him, holding his little sister. Just one of the saddest things I'll ever see. And we packed the car up and we came home.
To have a diagnosis sooner than we did would have just given us opportunity to speak to other parents, to seek advice from professionals that, you know, that was their field of expertise, so that then when the time came, we were armed with all the right questions to ask.
Trust your instinct. You know every area of your own child. The doctors that you're working with know the areas that they are specialists and they are amazing. But yeah, trust your instincts with your child. You know what's going, and you know when it's time.
It was beautiful. That's not the right word to use, but it was nothing like the doctors told me it would be. It was nothing like that. She was the icing on top of the cake. The cherry on top of the cake, I should say. Her family was complete when she was there. But now she's not there, it'll never be complete.
We're not alone travelling this path.